Heard a lot of Todd over the weekend in Philly.
A lot.
But before we get into the breakdown, Todd, you came in during the commercial break. You just said, Philly.
It's awesome.
Is that how you would describe the whole event for 3 days in Philadelphia?
Yeah, I mean, in New York, it was indoors.
Yeah.
So I mean, it was rowdy in the first day, and then the second, third day, it would just kind of thin out. Chicago was a scene the first year. Second year, we had bad weather. Couldn't do anything about it. But it went from being kind of a football weekend with a lot of excitement to this felt just like a huge national event. Philly was awesome. I really never, in my wildest imagination, thought it would be a scene like this. And then, I mean, it's 11:30 on Friday night, and fans are going bananas.
Yes.
I mean, I just couldn't believe the turnout and just the excitement for it. It was quite a scene.
You know, the difference for me being in New York, you had fans from everywhere.
Yes.
You had jerseys and everything going on, hats, everybody was a fan. All the teams were represented.
Yeah.
In Philadelphia, it was the Eagles.
Yep.
It was all about the Eagles, and everywhere I went, it was about that, and they were interested in other teams in the division, with obviously Dallas.
Oh, yeah.
But they do all the booing, and they're loud, but they are also respectful.
Yeah.
They didn't give. It was great to walk around.
Except for the commissioner.
Yeah. Well, but they were happy, and they were there all day, all night, and to have that record turn, Ron Jaworski deserves a lot of credit.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, Jaws did an unbelievable job. We were there March 28th with the Chalk Talk up there, and they were already fired up for the draft. That was a month before it. Mm-hmm. You knew if they were fired up then, what would happen at the end of April. And they went all out, and they set that bar now. The next city,
yes,
you better bring it.
Yep. 250,000 strong in 3 days, representing the 215-610 and 484 the right way. Let's get to a team that, if you mention them, we saw Drew Pearson come up to the stage. He heard it. Those Cowboys here. And when you look at them a year ago, their moves paid off immediately, especially on the offensive side. When you go with Zeke there at 1 in the first round, and then you go with Dak Prescott in round number 4. Is there a team that you think could have that same impact after this weekend in 2017 with rookies?
I'm going to get this right. I just got to calm down and say Los Angeles Chargers.
Yes.
I said San Diego a lot, but it's the Los Angeles Chargers, and I think they did a good job. It was interesting to see what they were going to do at 7. Were they going to take a quarterback and really not make Phillip Rivers happy and say we're getting the heir apparent, or help Phillip Rivers? And they did with Mike Williams, a big receiver who's got a lot of talent catching the football in contested areas. And Forrest Lamp, we thought would be a guaranteed first-round pick. Some teams consider him, but that guard center gets pushed down into the second. He could be a Pro Bowl caliber player. And then Dan Feeney, I compared to, Todd doesn't remember, he was probably in third grade, but Conrad Dobler. Yeah. Conrad Dobler played next to Dan Dierdorf, if you remember. Yes. Just had that ferocious mentality, and that's what Feeney has, and that's going to help Phillip Rivers, the wide receiver and the 2 offensive linemen.
I think Tennessee did a great job, too. You know, when they first took Corey Davis, the wide receiver out of Western Michigan, I thought, it's a little high. You know, we thought maybe he'd be a little bit later, but you have to look at the pairing that they got. And I think John Robinson, the GM, did a great job of understanding the board and knowing that, okay, here we are at 5. If we take a corner here, like a Marshawn Lattimore out of Ohio State, these receivers are going to be off the board by the time we pick again at 18. They were all gone. The 3 wide receivers in the first round were gone by pick number 9. So by taking the wide receiver there, they knew there was a lot more depth at cornerback. They got their cornerback at 18 in Adoree Jackson from USC and a return specialist. Plus, they put weapons around Marcus Mariota. Mike Williams, Taywan Taylor, one of the more underrated receivers in the draft coming out of Western Kentucky, and then Jonnu Smith, the tight end, who's a pass-catching tight end. So Marcus Mariota now has a lot more weapons. I think they could be the most improved team in the NFL this year, and I think that this is a team that looks like it's playoff bound.
Future's bright when you get that quarterback some weapons. And speaking of which, we saw that with the Panthers. Their first 2 picks, Christian McCaffrey and Cam Newton, I imagine is like, oh, finally I'm getting some help. And then Curtis Samuel out of the Ohio State, the wide receiver.
2 very similar players, Kevin. You think about McCaffrey, he is dynamic. You look at his ability and the passion for the game and the love for the game. All he thinks about is football. You see him here. He is quick. He is versatile. Great hands, punt, kickoff returner. And Samuel, very similar, but McCaffrey should be dynamic. He could be rookie of the year. You give a running back the ball, let him go. I think the pass blocking, obviously, is something everybody has to work on coming in. And Taylor Moton, who they drafted in the second round, kind of overlooked, but he's an offensive lineman who will have be a key presence, I think, to try to help out Cam Newton coming off that injury.
One thing I'll add quickly, 3rd downs, red zone. With Cam Newton, those 2 rookies in the backfield, I would think they're going to move to some college stuff where you see the 2 guys and different variations of the option where Cam Newton is a running threat, but you've got 2 guys that you can work the option to. I'm interested to see how creative they get with these rookies.
A lot of questions, some questions with the Browns maybe answered, some questions with the 49ers maybe answered, big questions surrounding the Bills and their future. Let's Let's try to answer this question. Deshaun Watson's impact with the Texans in his first year will be?
I think minimal. I just don't think he's ready. I think the accuracy throwing the football, it's not Dak Prescott. You have to think about their wide receivers. There's Will Fuller going to become consistent. Okay, yeah, the offensive line, all the things that have kept to come together for a rookie quarterback. Dallas was a once-in-a-lifetime situation for Dak Prescott. The running back, the tight ends going to the Hall of Fame, the great offensive line, the receiving entities, everything was perfect. Watson needs to develop accuracy. I know he's a leader. Todd's going to rave about that, and it's great. Okay, and I know he won big late in the year and all that and winning a championship, but I think Tom Savage will start the season. Will he play? Maybe. Their quarterback situation right now going in is pretty iffy.
How would you describe it?
Oh, he was speaking for him.
He ambushed you right there.
Tom's going to rave about his leadership, so I'm done. You get the point.
All right, real quick, just one player. Top player on next year's big board.
I would say Sam Darnold from USC is a possibility, but also Josh Allen is a name to get used to. Wyoming, not a lot of people know him. One of the more physically gifted quarterbacks we've seen in the last few drafts. He's got a chance, if he develops better decision-making, a little bit more consistency with accuracy, to be a top 5 pick next year.
We have learned you don't need your name to be known in April as a quarterback. You'll find a way. Trubisky comes top of mind. Carson Wentz as well from a year ago.
Sam Darnold, everybody was raving about after the way he finished out.
Exactly.
He didn't even begin the season as a starter, so Darnold would be number 1 on my list right now.
You have covered the draft for 34 years.
Yep.
And there is one thing that really stands out. How many bathroom breaks in the 34 years during the broadcast have you taken?
Well, officially,
yes.
The ones that matter, 0.
Yeah, officially. What's the difference between
I did one break 2 years ago when we were freezing in Chicago and they had to bring us inside. So they had a car to take us inside from where we were outside. So we weren't on the set.
He hasn't physically removed himself.
No, I have not ever taken away any time from the set. I have never taken myself from the set.
I'm with you on this one, Kiper. This is a legitimate asterisk.
It's a technicality.
Well, it's not a technicality. It's a reality because I was never on the set and left to do that. We were taken from the set to another set inside, and during that interim period when everybody was running the back, might as well. I'm not affecting the broadcast.
Actually, that's a great point. You're not affecting the broadcast.
He drinks less than a bottle of water all 3 days combined.
That's why. There's a method to the madness.
No doubt. Yeah. You are the Iron Man of draft.
You're a unique individual, Kiper.
In a word, crazy.